I still remember the first time that we went to a structure fire when I was a rookie firefighter. I remember getting out of the truck, putting on the gear. We get the hose line to the front door and we get ready to go inside. And the first major house fire that we worked, we got inside and the fire was in a back bedroom, but down the hallway you could see this billowing smoke, coming through, and the fire had started to spread to other places of the house. Looking back on it now, I can promise you the one thing that I was not thinking in that moment, when the smoke was so thick and when we knew that we had to get back there and get to the seat of where that fire was coming from, the one thought that I was not thinking in that moment was, boy, we sure do need some more fire. I remember as a lifeguard having to jump in the water and make some rescues. Haven't had to do that often, thankfully, but the first time that we were going for somebody who was submerged, water was probably 15 feet deep, and the swimmer couldn't keep their head above water anymore, so they were down beneath the surface. I remember jumping in the water and trying to submerge myself to where they were. Later on, looking back on it, I never once thought to myself, man, I just wish we had some more water. If there was some more water here, we'd be in good shape. But still today, we have this phrase that we use. Sometimes you've got to fight fire with fire. Now, there is a time, for instance, in a forest fire, where a wildland fire, that they might use a predetermined burn area to try and prevent the fire from spreading anymore. But outside of that one exception, I've never known a firefighter at a house fire to use that phrase seriously. We need to fight fire with fire. Instead, you come at that house, you come at that structure, you come at that fire with a whole different set of tools. You need water. Water is what does the job. It reduces the temperature in the room. It turns into steam and displaces the oxygen in the room to starve that fire out. It gives you an awful lot of options for taking care of that dangerous flame. Nobody says to fight fire with fire when there's a real fire on the line. The same thinking that got us into this mess is not going to get us out of this mess. That's kind of the thought I think that Paul has given us in Romans chapter 12. We've spent some time over these past few weeks looking at the practical advice that Paul gives in connection with the teachings that have come in the earlier part of this letter. He's been telling them all along about how different Jesus is from Adam, and how the Jews and the Gentiles both fall short of the glory of God, and how all of us are struggling to be set free. After that, he tells us we need to be transformed. Don't be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And then in the following verses, we've been looking at how he says to do that. If you really want to make a difference in this world, you're going to have to be different than this world. You're going to have to shine like stars in the middle of the night sky. There is no greater difference than the distance between the blackness of the void of space and that one pinprick of light from the star. They're polar opposites from one another. And at the end of Romans chapter 12, Paul says, if possible, so far as it depends upon you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it's written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. For by so doing, you will heap burning coals on his head. Don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It starts off by saying, do not be overcome by evil. Evil will not win. Wickedness may seem to persevere, may seem to continue, may seem to be insurmountable, but it will not have the final say. The great temptation for us is to fall into the habit of wanting to fight fire with fire. I remember Jesus said that we should be as wise as serpents. We need to know how the world works. We need to be on our toes. We need to be aware of the ways that evil people may act. But he followed that up by saying we still have to be as innocent as doves. So far as depends upon you, live at peace with all people. We don't fight fire with fire. We don't fight evil with evil. We have to rise above that. Even if sometimes that seems to set us back. Even if sometimes that means we might lose the battle. That is how we will win the war. Overcome evil with good. We live in a world right now. We're experiencing crises of different kinds in our world right now, in our country right now, where it seems easy to fight evil with evil. It seems easy to respond in kind to what others are choosing to do and how they're choosing to behave. But we can't give in to that. The firefighter going into that house, they need water, not more fire. The lifeguard trying to save that person's life needs to get that person out of the water, not throw more water on top of their head. The police officer standing a line, preventing rioters and looters from doing damage, while those individuals are hurling insults and maybe hurling other things as well, cannot respond in kind. They have to be the difference maker. They have to be the light in the midst of the darkness. We as Christians have to overcome evil with good, because it will win the day. If we can maintain that strength, even in the face of losing battles, even when others mock us and ridicule us and accuse us of being weak, good will win the day. And that's the only way that we can maintain our integrity in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. Thank you.